Okay, welcome to Life with Darren. We are at episode two. Yeah, episode two. So a lot of these episodes are gonna be a lot more like concentrated. They'll be more of like I'll have an actual topic. So today's topic is actually why I joined the real estate industry. Why I became a realtor, real estate agent, however you want to look at it. And then I'll go into my first year as well. So my journey goes back to 2022. 2022. I mean, honestly, if I really wanted to be, if I could be real, I've had the interest of it for a long time, but I would say when I actually took the steps into joining and into getting my license and everything, that was 2022. At the time, I was just working a regular job, uh, just normal. Like it was a normal, time. It wasn't really where, um, it wasn't necessarily anything crazy going on. Um, but really, what made me join and what made me kind of like say, you know what, let me just kind of take the steps and see, what can happen with it. Um, it was 2022. I was working regular job, and honestly, I hated it. Like I'm gonna be completely honest, like I hated my job, and it wasn't even the fact that I like hated the job, but it was just I hated where I was at in my job. Right, I had been working there for at that time it was about like 5 years or so. It was about 5 years, and it was I just felt like I needed a change, right? Like I just felt like I needed something new. I needed to be like in a different environment, just overall different. Um, and the way my life was at the time, like I just felt like I needed a lot more time on my hands. Um, I just felt like I wasn't in a good space, and I felt like I needed to just try something new. And so I took the steps. I said, forget it. Let me check. I found an online class. Um, it was like $90, and honestly, like I just say, you know what? Let me just try to take it as try to take it as serious as possible, right? So, um, I started, went through it. It took me about to finish. It took me about 9 months to like get through the entire class. I would have finished it a little bit earlier. But just outside things that happen, growing, a lot of shit had happened. And so I'll talk about some of that stuff later, but yeah, so a lot of things that happened, and so in the like midst of me starting and then me finishing, so I ended up finishing the entire class. It was like May of 2023, and I remember I had took off time like from work, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna be off about a week. I said, you know what, let me just finish everything, right? Finish the entire thing. And so I did that. That's what I did. I finished. I finished the class, finished my finals, finished everything. And then basically I had like once I finished it all, like I knew I needed to now like take my test. So I waited another like month and a half just cuz that California test, it ain't cheap. Like it's not like it's just like okay, cool, like you finished, okay, you can go take the test. It's like, no, I got to pay for this. So, I'm still working, still doing stuff, and I got the money for it, paid for it, and then they gave me the date. So my date was gonna be, uh, well, no, let me not even say that. I first had to place an application to take the test, right? So I had to do all of my stuff, get everything set up. And so I did that. I basically got everything set. Then I took the test. It was about 2 or 3 months later. It was about 2 or 3 months later. I had paid for it. I want to say it was like July of like 2023. And then October. It was October 10th, 2023. And I went to the test. I like took the day off and everything. It was crazy. Took the test, and I honestly I was nervous because prior to that I had met like 2 people just from working. I'll say my job. I worked at Foot Locker. I was an assistant manager. For like almost about. I ended up being an assistant manager for about 5 years, but at that time it was about 3, and or 4. It was about 4. It was 4 years, and I was actually helping out a couple, like 2 agents at the time, like at 2 different points. And I told them, I was like, yeah, like I'm about to take the test, and they were like, just make sure you study, because like for me, I had to take it twice. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, like I'll make sure I do that. So I studied, and I like basically ingrained all the information that I could into my head. Like I damn near I tattooed it like into my head. And I took the test, and I remember I walked out and I was like, let's just see, right? I don't know what's gonna happen, but let's just see. And so the next morning, I woke up, and I knew I had to close, so I woke up. It was a little bit later, and I checked my email. And it said I had saw something, and I can't remember what the actual email said, but something just told me check your profile or check your account. So I checked it, and I was like, what the hell? It said like, look at your certificate. And I saw it, and it said like, it had my name, it had the date and everything. I was like, oh shit, I passed. So I opened the door, told my mom, and then I just said like, I was like, what the hell, right? Because I didn't even realize what I was getting myself into until probably like, I would say maybe a week after. So at that time, I had spoke with like a couple agents just so I can kind of see what it was like. I had spoke with a agent that I told him I was very interested in their brokerage, just because I thought it was gonna be like I thought I was gonna basically be able to learn residential and commercial at the same time. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I ultimately wanted to get into commercial anyway. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I could learn both. And so ended up not being like that. Honestly, that brokerage that I worked for, it was great, but one thing that I would say is, and for all agents out there that's watching this, I would say the biggest thing and probably the most important thing when you're thinking about your brokerage, especially if you're new, right? When you're thinking about where you want to start, you have to think about a lot of different things, right? Because this is a place that if it's good, you can stay there forever. You can stay there for your entire career. But if it's bad, you are going to want to leave. So I wouldn't say that my experience at that first brokerage was bad. It was more so like I wanted to learn the entire thing. I wanted to learn how the game was. And I felt like there it was more of like, this is how we do business. So I'm going to teach you how we do business. Not like, how the business is ran. And so I realized that kind of I realized that pretty late. I started getting leads sent to me. I was making calls and stuff like that, trying to get, my first transaction done, and I wasn't able to. And so basically, how my first year went, it was a little like those first probably like I'll probably say like 8 months of it. Probably like 7. First like 7. Nah, not even. Probably like first like 8, 9 months. Yeah, that I was actually like working, or that I was like that I had my license. I wouldn't even say working. That I had my license. The first like 6 was cool, right? Not even that. I said the first like 4. First 4 were cool, but I'm still working like full time. I still have a full time job, and this is actually part of the reason why I left. So I started not getting like the hours that I was used to getting, and so because I'm not getting the hours that I'm used to getting, the money that I was used to seeing was not coming in. So I'm like, okay. And then I realized like I'm not able to even pay my dues. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. So then after that, because I wouldn't even say pay my dues. So basically, I ended up basically not being able to like really practice. Like I couldn't do stuff. I couldn't work. I couldn't really do anything. And then it's so funny. It's so funny where you get inspiration or where you get ideas from, because you think, oh, like most people think, yeah, you get like inspiration, or you get, especially for things like this, like I got my inspiration from seeing somebody else. No, or yeah, I saw other people, but it wasn't like typical. I got my inspiration to go into this full time and to like leave full time for a couple reasons. The first one was in March of 2024, we had the Inglewood was hosting Rolling Loud California. So prior to even me like starting and everything, when those tickets had went out, I knew I was gonna go because I was supposed to go in like 2021, right? Yeah, 2021. I was supposed to go, and they had it in San Bernardino at the time, and I was gonna go with my girlfriend at the time, but I ended up not. I don't even know why I didn't. I just didn't go. Like, I can't even tell you like, oh yeah, this is why I didn't go. Looking back, I don't even know why. Like, I just didn't go. And so basically, I say, you know what? If I got the chance, I'm gonna just go. Fuck it. So I got the tickets. Everything was cool, and then all of that stuff happened, right? But I wasn't selling my tickets because I wanted to go. I was like, man, fuck that. I'm going. I want to go, so I'm gonna go. Even if I go by myself, I don't care. Like, I live basically right next to it. I was like, bro, like, I don't have to go far. Like, I could walk there and do everything I want to do and then walk home. See all the people I want to see and walk home. Like, I don't care. So, knowing that, I was like, I'm going. So, I'm sitting there. Now, mind you, I had already had all this stuff happen in terms of me starting real estate, doing all these things. So, I'm like, I'm sitting there, doing my thing. I'm watching people. I'm watching, artists perform and all that stuff. But like with me, I'm a thinker. I'm in my head more than I'm like in the world sometimes. Cause like I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to see how I even how am I like interpreting stuff. So I'm looking, and I'm like, this is. I said, this is kind of kind of weird, right? So I'm sitting, I'm sitting at uh, I'm sitting at Rolling Loud, and something in my head was like, did we all like, did we all request this entire day off, like this entire weekend off? Or like I'm thinking, what are some of these people like doing to where they can come out here, right? Because somebody got to work. Like that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, somebody has to work. So what is everybody doing to where they could just do this? And then I started thinking again. I'm like, I could be doing the same thing, right? Like I could be here and still have like a career where I don't have to take off time or, set aside time for it. I was like, okay, So then continue to not get like the hours that I was getting, right? So I was like, all right, bro, like something's got to change, something's got to give. Then I started getting, now it's like I'm not able to pay bills, and I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird. So I end up leaving. Leaving Foot Locker, But part of it, honestly, part of it was my hours, but a huge part of it, and this is a huge part of it, because I almost went part time. A huge part of why I left was like, you end up realizing, like, once life kind of gets started, in terms of like just regular life, right? Once it gets truly started, you end up realizing like, okay, are the things that I thought, like when I looked in the past and I started thinking like, okay, when I was 21, even like 20, and I was just, kind of getting started with like my adult life, where did I see myself at 25? And I realized, I was like, I'm nowhere near that. Like, I'm nowhere near where I saw myself. So I was like, man, you know what, bro? I ain't even about to like, I'm sorry. My bad, Joe. I saw a text. I just didn't want to be in a position where I was going to be disappointed, I guess, in life. And so I was like, man, I want to take control of my life and like really do the things that I want to do. And so I left. So those first like couple months, I was just looking for jobs. And I'm going to go back a little bit. So the reason why I got like into real estate, or why I say, let's do real estate full time, is because in the midst, like in between me taking the California test and basically paying for that test, like that time that I had to wait before I got my date and everything, I just had an idea. I was like, you know what? Why limit myself to just California? But here's the thing. At the time, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I just knew, like, I don't want to limit myself to something. So I said, why am I limiting myself to just California? Let me see what Texas is like, too. Fuck it. And then I basically found the Texas course. And I took it. It was an online course, same thing. And I took it. I said, you know what? Let me just see. Forget it. So I took that course. And that test was actually a test I did have to take twice. I passed the national, but I didn't pass the state portion. But yeah, so I finished that course. Like, I finished the course within like 2 months. It was like 2 months. And it was like 5 classes. It was 180 hours. And yeah, I finished. And then I say, you know what? I said I'm gonna finish it, but I'm not gonna take the finals until after my California test. So I passed the California test, and I took those finals over the course of like 3 to 4 days. Took the finals, passed them, and I said, okay, cool, let's take the test. So I took the test. I didn't pass the state portion until February of this year. Yeah, I'm tweaking. February of this year. Passed, and I say, okay, cool. Now let's start figuring it out. So, after I left Foot Locker, it was like June of this year. I was like, how far am I in my Texas stuff? Like, how far do I need to go in terms of, like, what more documents do I need to submit so I get my license? And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm like, like, that's kind of, let me just see. So I looked, I was like, I'm not that far off. Let me just go and finish everything. So at the time, I'm like, man, you know what? Let me go into this real estate stuff. Let me just see what happens. Finished getting everything done. And I started applying at Keller Williams. Keller Williams like offices. And I'm like, you know what? Like, let me just, cause I knew Keller Williams is, you know, they were known for training, right? And I was like, that's really what I want. I want training. And so I'm sitting there, and I went and toured like a bunch of different offices, and I went to one which actually ended up being the office that I joined. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm getting, like, the vibes here is cool. I'm good with this. So I sit there and I join. So then I'm like, okay, well, I gotta join. If I'm gonna have to join here, like, I'm gonna have to join Texas as well. And so at the time, I'm like, okay, I still need to finish everything. Like, let's finish. So then I got started. I had met a coach, who's actually still my coach today. But yeah, I met my coach. Her name is Tammy, and basically, you know, we hit it off. It was good. I was like, all right, like, this is cool, right? I'm meeting cool people. Like, I'm good, right? Then I passed. So I got everything set up with Texas, and that took me almost about another like 2 months. So like in August, I got all my stuff. I had did like two open houses, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm starting to figure it out. So then I had signed up for and it's funny, right? Because it's funny what happens. Like, life will always show you, like, you think you're making a good decision, and then you look back later and you're like, I shouldn't have did that. There was no reason for me to do that. But hindsight is always 20/20, because at the time it was a great decision. But then the events that happened after, it was like, oh shit, I probably would have needed that if I didn't, like, I shouldn't have did that. So I joined this program. It was like a kind of like a course type of thing, but basically it was just showing you how to become a better agent, right? Joined it. It was cool. I went to like 3 meetings. And my coach, she ends up texting me. She's like, because also within that as well, I started back at school, and I knew I was gonna go to school full time. And at the time, I was like, all right, yeah, we're doing fashion. I'm doing everything that I want to do. Fashion, real estate. Like, if I want to do it, I'm gonna do it. So I was like, all right, cool. Go into it, and I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, everything was going good. My coach, she texts me. She's like, hey, like, did I lose you? And I was like, no, nah, we good. So she was like, okay, can we talk? I was like, all right. And I was like, you know what? It's crazy. I was going to tell you that I wanted to actually switch my times because I thought I was going to have to change because of school, but I'm not. So then she was like, okay, yeah, well, let's have a conversation. So then she tells me, she's like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'm actually leaving. I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You're leaving. She was like, yeah, I'm leaving KW. I was like, so what the fuck am I about to do? This is what's going in my head. I'm like, what the fuck am I about to do? She's like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm starting a team, and I want you to join. I said, oh, all right. Like, in my head, I'm like, I've had no transactions, barely any work. What the fuck you want me to join for? Like, this is crazy. So then I was like, you know what? Yeah, like, let's just see what she's talking about. So she's like, just research EXP real quick. So we got off our meeting. She ends up connecting me with like the welcome meeting, I guess, for her, like the person that's over her. And so I spent the weekend like just researching. And I knew after the first day of me researching, which was like right after that call, that I was gonna join. But then I knew after the meeting that I was gonna join. So I was like, yeah, like I'm joining. I'm joining. So then I go and I finished. Let me not say that. I go and do my whole transition and everything, and I was like, okay, like this is cool. And ever since I've joined, I have been so happy with the decision. Granted, yes. Did I lose a lot of money? For sure. 1000%. But I feel like I've always had like a boss's mentality. And basically what I mean by that is this. If you want to really like play, you have to pay. It takes money to make money. You can't be cheap and say, but I want to win. Nah, like you have to, sometimes you have to take losses. Those losses though, those are lessons, right? So like I had a lesson that I had to learn. I learned it. I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm good now. So then I said, you know what? Because I knew I had joined. The thing about it is, when I had this meeting 2 days prior, I had joined a KW in Texas. And it was like a big one. I was like, because I knew with that office, I was gonna get so much like work. I knew I was gonna be able to do so much. So then I'm like, fuck. I joined. I said, you know what? Like, I gotta do this. Because something told me, like, you have to do this. So I joined, had everything set up. And so I said, okay, cool. So then I went and I finished. And I said, okay, fuck. Like, told everybody, like, told all the people that I needed to tell. And then after that, I went in and basically got started. And so really that's what I've been in now, is kind of like getting started. You know, so my first year was super, like, it was a lot of transition, right? But really, what I would say, my first year was me like finding my footing. And now that I'm like cemented and I understand like where I'm at within my career, like I know what I'm gonna do because of the fact that I have everything set up and I know what I want to do. I know how I want to do it as well. Um, so yeah, like I would say, and let me also say, like, let me say where I work at is EXP Realty, and I honestly I love it, right? Because I feel right with EXP, even if you don't have a team leader or you're not part of a team, with EXP the great part about it is you can still just you can just be an agent, just be a solo agent and just work for yourself, right? And then let's just say as you grow and you meet other agents, you can always start your team. And that's the one thing that I love about it is like, even if I didn't have my team leader, one, so very low cap, very low cap. I'm not gonna say what my cap is, but even if I wasn't a part of a team, it's a super low cap. Two, you can two. It's so at other brokerages. I don't know about other ones, but I know with KW, with Keller Williams, you have an office fee, you have your fees specifically for that office. At EXP, it's all just one fee. So it's really great, like especially if you're like me and you have multiple licenses at multiple states. Like I don't just plan on just doing California and Texas. I do plan on getting to New York. I do plan on getting to Florida, Georgia. Um, I plan on kind of like building it out. So it's all great because it's just one fee, and you still have that training. You know, you're still getting that training, and to me, you're getting training for today, 2024. You're not just getting training that like people years back have been learning all the same things, same, you know, processes. It's all just, it's all up to date. And so I'm very happy. I'm very happy with how everything has turned out. Um, and the one thing I would definitely say is if you do feel like you can grow, but you're not in the right environment, you definitely should consider, right? Consider leaving. You don't have to go to EXP, you don't have to go to Keller Williams, but just go to where you feel comfortable, because that's that's the most important and the best thing about this, right? Is like I went to where I'm comfortable. And so I now can focus. I now can be in a space where I'm like, all right, I know what I need to do. I know exactly what I need to do. And it's also holding yourself accountable, you know. Um so yeah, so that's my story. That's my journey. Anyone that has any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can reach out to my Instagram. You can reach out to me through Instagram. You can reach out to me through TikTok. You can reach out to me even through here as well. Just reach out because if you do have any questions or if you do want to possibly join EXP and you're trying to understand or figure out like how to do that, just let me know. I got you. And yeah. So I'm gonna have a lot of updates when it comes to my business. But yeah, so that's my story when it comes to becoming a realtor. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. It's a work in progress. We're growing, we're building, and we're gonna get to those high places. We're gonna get to those big places. But you gotta start somewhere. So, Thank you guys. And yeah, Darren is out.